Boxing Truth here. Just want to bang out this quick prediction video. Very last minute prediction for the world title fight tonight between Billy Joe Saunders and David Lemieux. Billy Joe Saunders looking to defend his WO strap for the second time in his reign. Has a chance to provide to the boxing world that he's a legitimate champion by successfully defending his title in his first mandated bout, a first mandatory title defense. It's against a worthy contender in David Lemieux, an opponent that a lot of people in the boxing world feel is going to beat Billy Joe Saunders, that he's going to knock him the fuck out. It's a nice, good, solid title fight to end the year for HBO. Let's see if they have some bigger things in store for 2018. They definitely have some plans in store for the middleweight division, and this fight's part of that equation. The winner of this fight pretty much gets the right to call himself the best middleweight outside of Canelo and Golovkin. This is the fight that represents being the third best middleweight in the world, and the winner of this fight is in a position for a huge unification bout sometime in 2018 or other lucrative opportunities against top middleweights on the HBO side. So there's a lot on the line, a lot at stake. Millions of dollars at stake here for the winner. The loser might as well think about a career change because it's a big blow. Especially in the case of David Lemieux, he's had plenty of opportunities to show himself that what he's worth, what he's capable of, and he's failed on more than one occasion. So this is a must-win for him. This is a must-win for Billy Joe. Not the time to lose right now, since there's a huge unification fight on the horizon for the winner of this fight. So I expect a very game effort from both guys. I expect them both to fight very hard. Both want to win very much. A lot of trash talking going on in this fight. Intense stare downs. Some back and forth shit talking on social media. So I expect a intense competitive battle between the two. The odds makers see it as a very even fight, down the line 50-50. And you can make a case and argument for both guys on how they could win. You look at the fight, you have to take everything in consideration. The setting, where it's at, it's going to be on David Lemieux's home soil, Canadian soil. The judge is going to possibly most likely be a factor in this fight. You have neutral officials, well, at least one. You got one judge from the UK, one judge from Canada, and one judge from Puerto Rico. So the setting, the judging will be a factor in this fight. I don't expect Saunders to have a lights out performance in terms of early KO, or I just haven't seen that type of performance from Saunders in quite some time. He hasn't really shown that he's capable of that type of performance against this caliber opponent because of how he's looked in his last recent fights. It's been a dreadful run for Saunders in terms of his reign. Won the title, took off for almost a year, had a cherry pick gone wrong against Akavov in a voluntary defense. He lost the fight. The boxing politics got him out of that one. He was able to get awarded the victory, even though he did lose. But the politics of boxing got him out of that situation. And I know it wasn't the best of Billy Joe. I know he's capable of performing much better than what he showed against Akavov. Had a bad training camp, bad training situation, getting down in weight. He's changed trainers. He's seems to be on the straight and narrow now. He's taken his career a lot more seriously. He's been more active in the gym. He's been more serious about living the lifestyle of a prize fighter. Dominic Ingle has seemed to have a better influence on him, and as a result, he did have a better performance against Willie Monroe. Was I super impressed? Not really. But you see things in Billy Joe of what makes him effective in that ring. Why he's somewhat tricky to beat. He's got good speed. He's got toughness. He can take a punch. He's slippery in there. He's not the most easiest guy to hit in the world. He provides a lot of rhythm when you fight him. Even though he's in front of you, he's really a pocket sharpshooting counter puncher. But even though he's in front of you, he provides a lot of movement with his upper body, a lot of rhythm. So when you're trying to hit Billy Joe, it's not the easiest target. It's actually very elusive. He's slippery in there, so you're gonna have a tough time trying to hit him cleanly. So he can frustrate you in there because of his rhythm, his upper body movement, his reflexes. He's a solid counter puncher. He's got a good stick to the body, especially with his straight left hand. He puts his punches together well when he throws them, but he's not very consistent offensively. He's more physically stronger than what it looks like. He might surprise people with his physical strength against David Lemieux tonight. He's pretty good on the inside. He was roughing up Willie Monroe on the inside in their fight. Was showing that he was a stronger guy, backing him up, walking him down to the ropes, being tougher on the inside. So there is toughness in Billy Joe. He's more physically stronger than what he looks. He's not the biggest puncher, but I wouldn't say he's a bad puncher. If he counters you and catches you good, he could really hurt you with a good, well-placed counter shot. He's tricky. He's pretty good defensively, and he's a lot more fluid in the ring compared to David Lemieux. More athletic, much lighter on his feet. So Lemieux is going to have a tough time landing his combinations in this fight because of Billy Joe's rhythm and his movement that he provides with his upper body. He counters you as well, so you can be hesitant to throw some punches when you're fighting Billy Joe. Just ask Eubank Jr. He couldn't really tee off on him because he doesn't allow you to tee off on him. And that's been the case for many David Lemieux opponents. They allow Lemieux to come into his range because Lemieux needs to get at a certain range to be effective. He has very short arms, so he needs to be close or mid-range to be effective. And a lot of the opponents allow him to get into that range and allow him to tee off on him. He's fought mostly a lot of heavy bags. Guys that stand still, that don't provide much movement, stationary targets, heavy bags, and he's very effective against those guys because when he puts his punches together, David Lemieux, he can be explosive. He can be impressive with his shots. He's got some good solid speed. He's pretty sharp with his punches. He's got really good hooks, overhand rights. Has really good body work, especially if he gets you against the ropes. But he has to be at a certain range to be effective. And Lemieux's career is not really that impressive. It's somewhat of a mirage. I mean, got stopped by a gatekeeper, and Marco Antonio Rubio ran out of gas and got stopped in the middle rounds. Lost to another gatekeeper in Alcine. Takes a bunch of tune-up fights, rehabilitates himself, fights a chinny or Fernando Guerrero, knocks him out, 54-pounder, beats another 54-pounder on Rosado. Solid performance in that fight. Rosado's a gatekeeper. He finally got past the gatekeeper level. And then beats Endom, who's pretty much another gatekeeper, for a vacant title. Was able to win that fight, and he was at his peak. He was at his most confident, at his most explosive. Then he finally fights his first legitimate champion, first legitimate top fighter in Gennady Golovkin, and lost every second of every round because Golovkin wouldn't allow him to get his distance, allow him to get his range to be effective. Golovkin just jabbed the shit out of him all night, and Lemieux couldn't do a damn thing about it. Couldn't get in his range, couldn't land his explosive combinations. Takes a bunch of tune-up fights in between. rehabilitate himself, gain some confidence. Glenn Tapia's of the world. A solid fight with Curtis Stevens, but a heavy bag that doesn't provide a lot of movement. Stationary target allows you to tee off on him. Marcos Reyes, another slow Mexican fighter. So you're going to see the difference in level of opponent that Lemieux has been fighting, and then he's going to go in there against Billy Joe, a fast, fleet-footed guy with good reflexes, a lot of movement, a lot of stuff he does in there that could make you hesitant to throw. He can counter. It's going to be a frustrating night for David Lemieux. I don't think he's going to land anything much of significance throughout the fight. I see it going the distance. I see Saunders outpointing him. But it's just that Saunders hasn't shown that lights-out performance. He hasn't really shown that he's capable of one in his past few recent fights. But he's been taking training a lot more seriously. He seems a lot more fitter. He seems in much better shape, both physically and mentally, going into this fight. He's coming off the fight against Monroe back in September, so a quick turnaround, a quick training camp. So he's definitely going to be in shape for this fight. They made a business decision to come over here to Canada simply because there was more money on the table to go to Canada and fight live on HBO than to just stage the fight in the UK, since Billy Joe is not a big draw, can't even sell out the Copper Box. So business is why they're simply in Canada right now, trying to defend their title on enemy territory. But I think Billy Joe is good enough. He's undefeated. He's got some solid wins under his belt. Andy Lee, Eubank Jr., a Gennady Golovkin left over, and Willie Monroe. He's a tricky guy to beat. He's fast. He's fluid. He's got some skills. He doesn't really do anything that's very impressive, but what he does when he's at his best, when he's on, he's effective, and he could be a frustrating guy to fight. So I see Billy Joe outboxing Lemieux from a distance, being at a certain range, out hustling, out pointing, landing more shots. Lemieux pressuring, can't find the range, can't find the distance, can't deal with Saunders' tactics, defensive tactics, his speed, his rhythm, his movement. And I see Lemieux just having a tough night, not landing many big punches. Will make it interesting in the first half, since he's very dangerous in the first 4 rounds of fights, but then he slows down. I see Billy Joe just outpoint him, out hustling, and outboxing him to a competitive but clear decision in his favor. I see it going a distance. I don't see a knockout in this fight. I'll be surprised if Billy Joe just trashes David Lemieux and stops him early. Has an even more impressive performance compared to what Golovkin did to him. I don't expect that, but if he does that, then more power to Billy Joe. I mean, he needs a big-time performance. He needs an impressive performance to get boxing fans excited about his career. More boxing fans outside of the UK. I mean, he needs to provide a performance that says that maybe he has a chance to beat one of the top 2 guys in Canelo or Golovkin, besides just being an opponent, an unification bout. So this is his chance. This is his test to see how he compares to at least Golovkin, who is the opponent, the fighter that he's going to be compared to tonight, since Golovkin already fought David Lemieux. And we'll see. It's a 50-50 fight, according to the odds makers. But I'm going with Billy Joe Saunders by split decision. He'll get a tough points win on the road. Close, competitive, split decision, go in his favor. He'll retain his WBO strap for his third straight title defense. And he'll move on to bigger and better things. An eventual showdown with the Canelo Golovkin winner, or perhaps a fight with Danny Jacobs. If Demetrius Andrade keeps barking, if he's in position in the WO rankings, he could get a shot at the title. There's plenty of options for Billy Joe if he does the business tonight and has a good performance and defends his title in what should be an interesting 2018 in middleweight division. But y'all let me know what y'all think about the fight, who you got. This is Boxing Truth. I'm out.